Why does Saturn have rings? What are the different types of clouds? How does an octopus swim? Why does a tiger have stripes? How do flowers grow?
Tell Me Why. The Video Encyclopedia is a reference work that's designed to show the answers to questions that young people ask. All materials used in this work are based upon the best-selling book series by Arkady Liokam.
What is botany?
The word botany comes from the Greek word that means herbs. In the 19th century, Charles Darwin helped botanists gain a better understanding of how plants evolved from the simpler ancestors. His work helped set up special branches of botany: plant anatomy to study the structure of plants, ecology, which deals with the distribution of plants all over the world, paleobotany, which works out plant evolution by examining fossils, plant physiology, which studies the way plants breathe and make food, and plant pathology, which is concerned with the diseases of plants. Plants first appeared on Earth about 425 million years ago. They first looked like the mosses, liverworts, and thorworts of today. 400 million years ago, more complicated plants appeared. They resemble today's ferns, horsetails, and club mosses. Pines developed about 300 million years ago, as did firs, spruces, cedars, hemlocks, and redwoods. The first flowering plants appeared about 150 million years ago.
What are one-celled plants?
Bacteria are considered the lowest members of the plant kingdom. Each bacteria is a single bit of living matter without a nucleus. They are so small that they can't even be seen under an ordinary microscope. Bacteria are usually found in one of three shapes: ball-shaped, rod-shaped, or corkscrew-shaped. They reproduce by splitting in two. Bacteria bring about the decay of dead plants and break them into simple compounds. They also combine nitrogen with other elements to make nitrates, which plants can use to grow. Algae are among the most primitive forms of plant life. Some of them always remain single, independent cells. Others bud out, one cell from another, forming long, bead-like strings. Others bud and mass about one another in graceful patterns, forming an intricate network of cells. Still others break away in groups and start whole new colonies. All algae contain a green substance called chlorophyll, which allows them to absorb the sun's rays and to manufacture their own food. Mold is sac fungi that is found on a variety of substances. Spores of green and black mold exist in the air almost everywhere. If you provide them with a suitable place for obtaining food, they will settle and reproduce. They do this by spores which are everywhere around us. Penicillium is the common blue mold that grows on bread, cheese, and lemons. Another variety, Penicillium notatum, is grown in the soil, and this is where we get the antibiotic drug called penicillin. Mildew is a web of long, colorless threads with two kinds of branches. One is topped by little black balls which contain spores. The other is shorter and serves as roots and absorbers of nourishment. Mildew appears as a greenish growth on leather, fruit preserves, and cooked food when exposed to warm, moist air. Diatoms are the smallest plants. They are found by the billions in all the waters all over the earth, and they have only one cell. The largest diatoms are barely visible to the naked eye, and the smallest are less than 1/1000th of an inch long. Each diatom builds a stone shelter which consists of two shells or valves that are held together by a type of girdle. The living plant lies inside.
Why do plants turn towards the light?
Plant cells contain growth substances known as auxins. These move away from the light. When the plant is in the shade, the auxins gather in the cells on the side of the stem away from the light. That makes the cells on that side of the plant grow faster than the cells on the lighted side. This is what makes the plant bend towards the light.
Why is chlorophyll important?
Chlorophyll is the green substance which enables plants to supply man and animals with food. Chlorophyll enables plant tissue to absorb the energy from the sun and use this energy to transform inorganic chemicals into organic or life-giving chemicals. This process is called photosynthesis. As a plant takes carbon dioxide from the air, it combines it with water from which the plant takes hydrogen.
Why are roots important to plants?
Roots become long at their tips so that they can keep coming in contact with new parts of the soil in their search for water and certain minerals like nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sodium, and iron. Roots also act as an anchor or support for the plant. Not all roots grow in the soil though. Ferns that grow on trees have spongy roots that grow in the air. The roots take water from the soil. The water goes through the roots, through the stems and branches, into the veins of the leaves. As the carbon dioxide from the air and the water from the soil mix, the leaves manufacture sugar. This sugar is changed by plants into starch. Starch is one of the most important substances in the world. The human race gets more food from starch than from any other single substance. Starch is found in plants in the form of tiny grains. With the help of sunshine and chlorophyll, plants create the starch as a food for tiny seedlings until they can manufacture their own food materials. Starch is made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Leaves get rid of waste material called oxygen through little openings on the underside of the leaves.
What's a hybrid plant?
A hybrid plant is a crossbreed of a plant. That means that it is the result of the union of the male of one species with the female of another. A good example of this is corn. Farmers took care in the selection of seed ears that were superior in disease resistance and in strength of stalks. They're also very high in yield. By first purifying or sorting out the most desirable characters of the old varieties and combining them with new types, hybrids have produced wonderful results.
What is a seed?
A seed is the part of a plant that enables it to reproduce itself. If you split a large seed, like a bean, in half, you will see that it is made of two pale, thick leaves called cotyledons. They are filled with starch for the developing plant. When a seed sprouts, a root appears. Then a leafy shoot pushes up. The tiny new plant is called an embryo. The top of this embryo grows into leaves and stems. Gradually, this new plant grows to look just like its parent. Seeds may be small like begonias. They are so tiny that they look like dust. Other seeds may be large, like coconuts, which may weigh as much as 40 pounds. Seeds of different plants vary greatly, but they all have the same basic structure. Within a protective coat is the tiny plant and a store of food material that provides first nourishment for the young plant. Seeds contain comparatively little moisture. Most may be stored dry for long periods. To germinate or begin to grow, a seed needs air, moisture, and warmth. The first growth to emerge in this process is the root. Seeds are the best method of raising quantities of the many kinds of plants required for spring and summer blooms. Marigolds, asters, petunias, and many greenhouse plants are raised from seed. Seeds are the main method of growing grasses and almost all of the vegetables that we eat. Seeds are divided into 5 categories: small, like the begonia; fleshy, like beans; hard-coated, like nuts; oily, like carrots; and multiple, like beets.
What is a bulb?
Many plants grow from bulbs. Bulbs consist of a short, flattened or disc-shaped underground stem with numerous fleshy scales that are filled with stored food. If you cut a bulb lengthwise, you can see many layers that cover the tiny bud at the center. Some of the plants that are grown from bulbs are the onion, the tulip, daffodils, lilies, and hyacinths.
How do seeds spread?
There are many ways for seeds to be spread. Some are hitchhikers. They grow with spines that stick to animal fur and to people's clothing. Some seeds have stickers that cling to the bills of birds. When seeds fall into the water, they float far away. Others fall in mud and stick to the bottom of shoes or animal hooves. Some seeds actually seem to explode as their pods open suddenly and throw seeds several feet away. Man scatters lots of seeds too. If a grain container isn't completely empty, seeds can be sent all over the country in trains and trucks.
Tell me about grass.
Grass reproduces by means of seeds. Grass seeds are grown and scattered just like all other seeds. There are 7,000 different kinds of grasses. They include corn, barley, rice, and oats. The tallest grass is the bamboo. This grows in warm climates and can be over 100 feet tall. The shortest grass is the pygmy, which grows in the Arctic regions. It may be only 1 inch tall. Grasses that live for just one season are called annuals. Others live through the winter and come up again each spring. These are called perennial grasses.
Tell me about flowers.
The flower of each plant makes the seeds for new growth. That is the only function of a flower. Inside the petals are the reproductive organs necessary for producing seeds. In the center of the flower, there are one or more pistils surrounded by a ring of stamens. The pistil is the female part of the flower. At the bottom of the pistil is the ovary. And inside are little round ovules which become seeds if they are fertilized. The stamen is the male part of the flower and it produces pollen grains. When the pollen and the ovules meet, seeds are formed.
Why do flowers have different scents and colors?
A flower has fragrance when certain essential oils are found in the petals. These oils are produced by the plant as part of its growing process. The oils are made up of complex substances which break down and turn into a volatile oil. That means that it evaporates rapidly. When that happens, we smell the flowers. Anthocyanin is the name for the pigments which give flowers the colors that we enjoy. They are dissolved in the sap of the cells of the flowers, and the type of pigment determines the color of the flowers. One of the most popular flowers is the rose. Roses have been cultivated for hundreds of years, and we know of at least 300 different kinds of roses. The colors vary from white, pink, yellow, orange, crimson, and scarlet. The blossoms can be tiny, button-like blooms of the ramblers to the wide-spreading blossoms of the highly cultivated varieties. Some of the most beautiful flowers in the world are orchids. Some grow in swampy areas while others thrive in a peaty-type soil. The most prized, though, are really air plants. They cling to the trunks and the limbs of trees and receive all of their nutrients from the air around them. Orchids were first introduced into America in 1887. Now they're a favorite of gardeners. In their native forests and jungles, orchids grow wild. In gardens, patience and care is necessary to bring these exotic plants to blossom. Many varieties must be cultivated for years before they even produce one bloom. Flowers are an important source for the fragrances that we use in the home. Perfumes are a blending of petals and oils from many different flowers. Sachets and candles receive their scent from flowers too. There are thousands of varieties of flowers in the world. Some are able to grow only, though, in certain climates. Careful selection and the use of hybrids have produced new varieties that are strong, fragrant, and long-lasting.
What is a weed?
All gardeners know about weeds, but weeds are just plants that grow where they're not wanted. A dandelion in the middle of the lawn is a weed. Dandelions grown for fresh greens, they're not weeds. Clover in a pasture is not a weed. Clover in a flower bed is a weed. Weeds are just plants that are out of place.
Why are plants important?
Plants and trees have several important jobs to do on Earth. First, they make it possible for us to breathe. We need oxygen to live. When we exhale, we breathe out carbon dioxide, which is used by the plants for life. They breathe out oxygen. This never-ending cycle helps to keep our air clean. Plants and trees are also an important source of food. Man couldn't live without plants. We eat vegetables and fruits, grains, nuts, and berries. Certain types of grasses as well as other grains are fed to animals. Then we eat the animals. Man, mammals, fish, birds, amphibians, and insects survive because of the splendid variety of plant life on Earth. Some animals live on only certain kinds of plants. The koala bear of Australia eats only the leaves of the eucalyptus tree. The lowland gorilla eats only the tender shoots of the bamboo. Some animals prefer the leaves and branches of trees. Others delight in the roots that are just as tender and juicy. There is one plant that turns the tables on the animal kingdom. That is the Venus flytrap. This plant eats insects. It opens its sticky pods until a bug settles on it. Then it closes with a snap, trapping its victims for a leisurely snack.
What is forestry?
Forestry is the science of forests. It is important to harvest old trees before they decay and become useless. Great care and skill are needed in harvesting and replanting trees to make sure that there will be a good new growth of the right kind of trees. A tree has three main parts. The roots anchor it in the ground and absorb water and minerals from the soil. The trunk and branches carry sap and lift the leaves into the sunlight. The leaves are the food factories of the tree. A tree grows high by lengthening its twigs and branches at the tips. A section called the cambium is a layer of cells where growth and diameter occurs. Sap goes up the tree in an interesting way. Transpiration is the evaporation of water. Cohesion is the attraction of gluing of one particle to another. As the water evaporates, transpiration, it creates a vacuum which draws the sap below in a continuous supply. The water particles are held together as they move up the stem by cohesion. The leaves are the food factories for the trees. The machines of the leaf are little green bodies called chloroplasts. They regulate the size of the openings through which air passes. Leaves give off water too. Part of the water taken in through the roots is used to make sugar.
Why is bark important?
One of the main functions of the bark on a tree is to protect the inner, more delicate structure of the tree. It keeps them from drying out and guards against outside injuries. When you cut down any tree that is more than a year old, you will see alternating bands of light and dark wood. The two bands together are called the annual ring. In the spring and early summer, the cells of tree wood are bigger and have thinner walls. This makes them look lighter. In late summer, the cells are smaller, have thick walls, and are closely packed together. This makes the darker band.
What is grafting?
If a bud from a twig of one bush is carefully inserted in a slit made in the bark of another bush, the first twig will grow just as if it was on its own bush. This is called grafting. There are many kinds of grafting. It can range from inserting a single bud under the bark to attaching long twigs across the wound of a tree to heal wide wounds in the bark.
Why aren't all trees green?
When you look at a group of trees in the summertime, you can see only one color, green. When the weather becomes cold, the food that has been stored in the leaf begins to flow out to the branches and trunk. Since no more food will be produced in the winter, the chlorophyll food factory closes down and the chlorophyll disintegrates. As that happens, all of the other pigments or colors that have been hidden in the trees begins to appear. A substance called xanthophyll is yellow. Keratin is orange. Anthocyanin is bright red. All of these colors are hidden during the summer because the green from the chlorophyll is too strong.
Tell me about the different types of trees.
Pine trees are called evergreens. They stay the same color all year round and never appear bare. That's because pines have long, narrow, needle-like leaves with thick, waxy outer coverings. This prevents the evaporation of water. When the old leaves fall, new ones grow at the same time, and you can't see any change in the tree. The tallest trees known to exist on Earth are the giant redwoods of California. The trees in Humboldt County are believed to be the tallest trees in the world.
What products come from trees?
Gum consists of an acid nucleus combined with sugar molecules. It comes from a plant as a thick, sticky liquid which hardens when it's exposed to air. Gum dissolves in water. Everyone is familiar with chewing gum. This type of gum comes from chicle, which is produced by the naseberry tree as well as some others. Gum arabic for making cough drops is made by varieties of the acacia tree. Gum comes from many different trees where it is found as sap. Sassafras is a member of the sweet-smelling laurel family. The root and bark of the tree are used to make oil of sassafras, which is the substance used for flavoring. If you drink root beer, eat candy, or chew gum, then you have tasted sassafras. There are about 4,000 different species of palm trees, and they are among the most useful trees in the world. Their fruit, stems, and leaves provide food. Their leaves, branches, and trunks furnish strong wood, cane, thatch, and twine. Their bark and leaves are used to make rugs and paper. The nuts of some are carved into buttons, and the sap is made into sugar, wine, or honey. The fruit of a palm may be the size of a bean or as large as a coconut. It may be soft, like a date, or have a woody covering. The coconut is the fruit of the coconut palm tree. The nut is about 3 to 8 inches long. Inside the hard shell is a layer of dense white meat. The center is filled with a watery liquid which is called coconut milk. A coconut has 3 eyes, which are really undeveloped buds. When a coconut is planted in the ground in its husk, a new sprout pushes through one of the eyes. If a new palm begins to grow, it takes about 8 years before it bears any fruit. The eucalyptus is a tree from Australia. Its leaves are leathery and hang down vertically. The trunk is tall and straight. The eucalyptus is an extremely useful tree. It requires a lot of moisture, so it's planted in swampy regions. By drawing water, it helps to control mosquito populations. Eucalyptus also provides man with medicine. The leaves hold oil that clears nasal passages. Internally, it has an effect on the kidneys.
Where does paper come from?
Man uses millions of trees just to make paper. Paper is used for almost everything we do. It becomes bags to carry groceries, towels, and tissues in the home. We need paper to write letters and to do schoolwork. Newspapers use millions of trees every year just to bring you the news. Paper wraps presents and it holds information. Specially treated paper is used for magazines. The shiny surface keeps the paper from crumbling as we turn the pages many times. When cloth fibers are added to paper, we've got books that'll last for years. All of the paper around us starts out as trees. These trees, usually pines, are cut in the forest. They're loaded onto trucks with their branches and their needles still attached to them. When they arrive at the paper mill, they're slashed into short lengths. Then the bark is removed and the tree is fed into a machine that chips them into small pieces. The chips are cleaned of any impurities and bits of bark that might stay on them. Then when the chips are very clean, they're pressed into long sheets. The water is carefully removed. The final product is rolled into a giant roll of paper.
What is wood?
Wood is a strong, hard type of plant tissue. It's made up of cells that are packed together something like the cells of a honeycomb. The walls of the cells are composed of cellulose, and this is the material that forms the wall of all plant cells. Cells of wood are mostly long and narrow like pipes. They extend up and down the tree. There are hollow air spaces inside the fibers which act as barriers to the movement of heat. Woods are divided into 2 main classes. The difference between them is in their hardness or softness of texture. Important softwoods are cedar, southern cypress, firs, hemlock, western larch, northern pine, and spruce. Hardwoods are ash, aspen, basswood, beech, birch, elm, hickory, maple, oak, and black walnut. The greater the weight, the stronger the wood. After a tree is cut down, it's sawed into lengths that will fit in a truck or a train. Then the logs are hauled to a sawmill. The log is pushed through sharp blades that remove the outer bark and trim it to a manageable size. Then it's cut into 2 or more even lengths. The log is then transferred to a carriage, and it is sliced from one end to another. The rough new boards are then trimmed. They are planed until they are smooth, and then they are sorted according to type and size. Finally, the new boards are dried so that they can be used.
are some of nature's oddities?
Amber is a brittle, yellow, translucent substance. Ages and ages ago, a certain resonant substance oozed from pine trees. Great amounts of it gradually accumulated on the ground. As the Earth's crust changed, it was buried, and in the course of millions of years, this substance became fossilized or hardened into the amber we see today. Amber was originally a soft, sticky substance, and many insects became stuck and caught in it. Today, these ancient insects remain preserved in the amber. Plants with no roots or flowers are moss. They have little threads which grow over the surface of the soil that absorbs minerals and water from the soil. Since moss lacks a system for carrying water inside the plant, it is found growing on moist things like wet rocks and riverbanks. Fungus was once thought to be a member of the plant family. Now it has been reclassified into a grouping of its own. Fungus lives without roots, stems, or leaves, and it contains no chlorophyll. Fungus lives on food that has been made by other green plants. Lichens are plants without roots, leaves, or flowers. There are about 10,000 species of lichens, and they grow everywhere. Lichens are actually two plants that grow together, a fungus and an algae. Algae, being green plants, can make their own food. Fungi can't. The fungi use the food made by the algae. This support system is called symbiosis, from the Greek words meaning life together. Mushrooms are a member of the fungi family. They grow from little threads or roots that remain underground. White knobs of tissue bud out and push upward, expanding and breaking out in umbrella shapes. Under the umbrella are spore sacs. The spores drop out and are carried away by the wind. When these spores fall on favorable surfaces, they develop into new plants. Toadstools and mushrooms are not the same thing. A mushroom is an edible fungus, and toadstools are poisonous mushrooms. The only safe mushrooms are the ones that you buy in a food store. A wide range of subjects are available in this series now. Let's look at some of the questions that are covered in the Tell Me Why programs. Weather.
A tornado is a special kind of cyclone. It arises when conditions that cause ordinary thunderstorms are unusually violent. There is an updraft of air. There are winds blowing it.
Flowers.
A flower has a fragrance when certain essential oils are found in the petals. These oils are produced by the plant as part of its growing process.
Space.
Distances to the stars are so great that a unit for measuring distances was worked out. It's called a light year, and it is the distance that light travels in 1 year.
Water.
Water is a simple compound of two gases: hydrogen, a very light gas, and oxygen, a heavier active gas. When hydrogen is burned in oxygen, water is formed.
Gems.
When minerals are better, rarer, clearer, or more crystalline than others, they are called gems. Gems are the most prized and famous of all minerals. Diamonds, emeralds, rubies, and sapphires stand out as the true gems.
Ask for the additional volumes by subject from your dealer. They're available now.